Canine scent work is a really fun activity for people to do with their dogs. And today we're going to learn all about scent work with the amazing Bonnie Hartney of Ocean Park Dog Training. And I'm really excited that she's with us today. Welcome to the Positive Post in Conversation. I'm Zazie Todd. I'm joined, as always, by my friend and co-host Kristi Benson and a very cute Archer who is joining Kristi today. Kristi, do you remember a few episodes ago we asked you what dog sport you would most like to try? What did you pick?
I think it was a scent work.
It
I
was
can't
scent
remember. Yay!
work. So that's why it's very cool that we've got Bonnie here with us today. So Bonnie
Very cool.
Hartney is the owner and head instructor trainer of Ocean Park Dog Training in Surrey, BC, which is BCSPCA Animal Kind certified. Bonnie is a force-free, reward-based dog training professional who brings knowledge and experience working with both shelter dogs and pet dogs to advance people's knowledge and understanding of pet dog behavior. Bonnie earned her CTC from a distinguished international leader, Jean Donaldson, at the Academy for Dog Trainers. And to further her understanding of scent detection for pet dogs, Bonnie studied with the National Association of Canine Scent Work Founders, and she's a certified nose work instructor with 9 years' experience of teaching nose work. For over 25 years, Bonnie has volunteered and worked with the BCSPCA, helping shelter dogs to be adopted. And currently, Ocean Park Dog Training has nosework classes every day of the week with 4 certified nosework instructors and more than 95 dog teams. That's incredible. Thank you for joining us today, Bonnie.
Oh, thank you so much, Zazie. And it's an honor to be here. So thank you. And I'm so excited about Nosework. So I'm sorry, Kristi, you're going to be in it. You're definitely going to want to start. Um, yes.
And if you're thinking you recognize Bonnie's name from somewhere, that's probably because you read about her in my book Bark, where she was kind enough to let me tell the story of how she helped her very fearful dog, Dixie. So that will be where you recognize her from. But obviously, she's incredible, not just at working with fearful dogs, but also at doing scent work. So, how did you get started in scent work?
Thank you for that, Zazie. That was very kind. And Dixie says thank you too. How did I get started? I have to confess, I wasn't, when I first heard about it, I thought, I don't think this is going to fly. But it started back in about, I think it was 2009. And my friend Ann Gunderson told me about a new class she was starting. And I wondered if I was interested. It was called Canine Nose Work, and it was a class to teach pet dogs how to do scent detection. She'd recently been to California to learn from the founders at the National Association of Canine Scent Work. She was super excited. And at first, though, I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know. But anyways, I decided to give it a try, which was really lucky for me. So that organization was started with the late Ron Gaunt and Amy Harrow and Jill Marie O'Brien. They were professional detection dog handlers, and they had an idea. They recognized how happy and joyful the professional dogs were when they were searching for bombs and drugs and things. And they wondered if they could replicate something like that for pet dogs. So they came up with this idea. They designed classes. They had a small group of people in Southern California who got started, and people loved it. And they were searching for food. The food was hidden. The dogs were searching. They made it more and more complex, and the dogs were able to do it. But then as humans, the students wanted to compete. They were wondering how they could test their skills. So they kind of went back to the drawing board and came up with the idea of having a target odor that they could train the dogs to find, and that way they could hide it and the humans could go into competition. So as things went on, so Anne had this great idea, and by the way, the dogs learned to find the target odor really easily, and so the whole organization took off, and it now has an educational side. It has a competition side, but the majority of dogs, I think, probably are just dogs that are out there doing it for the fun of it. So fast forward today, there are teams everywhere, all over the globe. There are other scent organizations. They're maybe slightly different, but they're all doing the same thing. When trial registrations open up, it is not at all surprising to have a wait list that is so long because it's so popular. So the thing about nose work that makes it different, I think, from any other class that people might take is that one dog comes into the search area, which is typically a classroom or a hall. So one dog comes in at a time and does the search and then goes back and waits in the car for their next turn. And that was a part that I thought, I don't know if we're going to like this. So I went to my first class with my white Swiss Shepherd, Lily. She was an adolescent at the time. She was about a year old, full of energy and all sorts of fun, very lively. And so we had our 3 turns and she waited in the car in between. And when I drove home, she slept the whole way. And I was like, what was that about? And she was so content. And I didn't have to take her for a super long walk afterwards. And I thought, wow, she loves us. And it's very tiring. I love that too. And so we were hooked. And
Oh man, I love that. I love that. I love that story, and I love how you said earlier that that the detection dog handlers noticed that their dogs loved it, and that's something that I see too. Like when I'm in an airport and I see one of those airport spaniels, you know, that like the handler has a Kong or something in their pocket, and the dogs look like they're having fun. And it's so different from the image that you might get of other working dogs, especially working dogs who are trained using aversives. Like it just looks like they're having the best. It puts everybody around in a good mood, you know?
yeah, for sure. It really does.
Yeah. So like following that, and I apologize. I know we were talking about this before we got started on Zoom, but my internet is a little glitchy today. I think it's because we got our first big snowfall here in northern BC. So I apologize if my my voice is crackling in and out, but we wanted you to talk a little bit more about what are the benefits of scent work for dogs and their people. Like I think you touched on that, but just a little bit more. Let's drill down on that a little bit more.
Sure. So interesting. I like to start. I call it the school year of nose work. So we take the break in the summer, but we come back in the fall, and I like to ask my students, what brings you back? Why did you sign up again? And again, this year, the answer was the same. The number one reason that people continue to come to classes is because they say, my dog loves it. And it's true. And that's what keeps people coming back. And some people said it's also because they love it too. People find that, it's mentally tiring and it's very fulfilling for the dogs. It really does tap into their natural hunting abilities, and it feels good and it feels right to the dog. There are lots of times when we're saying to dogs, oh, don't sniff that, or get out of the garbage, or don't sniff that person, too closely because that's rude. And so in nose work, they get to be a dog. They get to follow their nose, and I think it really does feel good and right to them. It turns out the part that I was worried about, the brakes in the car, it turns out that they actually really do need that because it is mentally tiring for the dogs. And sometimes I will maybe do 4 searches instead of 3, and the dogs, you can see they're starting to lag. It is like doing the most advanced crossword puzzle. And so they do actually need a break. So my students also said that they love learning more about their dog. So I feel like it's as they watch their dog, there are so many light bulb moments, and they say things like, wow, I had no idea my dog could do this. And it's like when someone shows you, the owner's manual for for your phone or your TV or your car, and you're like, oh, I didn't know my TV could do that. That's cool. And that's kind of what it's like when people come to class, like, I had no idea. It's really exciting. People, and I totally agree, it is definitely a confidence builder. For dogs who are maybe worried about moving away from their person, it's a great opportunity for them to do that in a really positive and safe way. Some dogs at the beginning are afraid to put their head into boxes or move close to, tight spaces. And you can see over time how their confidence really, really grows with nose work. And then the other part that I love is that it's a fun activity that dogs who might otherwise not be able to come to classes can do. And that is because it's one dog at a time. So, for example, if a dog is dog reactive or maybe shy around people, it's fine because they're coming in one at a time. The humans don't do anything. We don't talk to the dogs while they're searching. We don't interact with them at all. And so they start to become more and more confident over time. And so for those people who have especially dog reactive dogs, I think it's just so lovely because finally they can be part of a class and they can see their dog in a different light. And I really love that. And usually over time, it's not at all surprising to me now because I've seen it so much. When the dog that is highly dog reactive starts to learn the game and loves nose work and loves coming into the training center, they ignore the other dogs in the parking lot, and the reactivity really goes down, which is really cool to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, so many benefits. So if someone decides to sign up for a class, like a complete beginner's class, what can they expect to happen in, at the class, at the very first class?
Sure. So the part I always want people to know is that the dog has to be comfortable and safe when being left in the car. And I think in some of the warmer places in the world doing nose work, they have areas for creating dogs to keep them separate. And the reason that nose work is one dog at a time is it does tap into that natural hunting instinct, and we don't need them worrying about other dogs coming close when they're hunting for scent. So they take turns. So being comfortable in the car is really important. The other thing is they're searching for treats when they come. So we want something that's high value. We want small ones because we're going to use a lot of them. I say 50, but I've never counted it. That you come with your container and your dog's name, because at first the humans are not actually doing a lot. The instructors are. They're setting the hides, the treats, and the humans are watching, which is really a great opportunity for them to watch the dog's body language. The instructor can narrate what they see and tell them what their dog is doing as they move around the room. But learning really does happen from watching the other dogs. So once you're done, you'll go back out, put your dog in the car, and come and sit and watch the other dogs. It's endlessly fascinating to watch the different search styles. It's interesting too if you have different dogs in the class, because you might see some breed tendencies. The herding dogs have a really cool thing where they tend to come in and do a nice perimeter search first and then come back. The spaniels do a bit of that quartering where they're all over. It looks like they're, flushing out some birds from a bush. It's exciting to see the differences. The retrievers, I think humans have selected for going straight into, they shouldn't hang around the hunter. They go straight in. So they tend to go right deep into the search area first. And so there's just so much learning and opportunity to understand dogs more that I think people really love it.
What do you think Archer would do? He's like
Archer,
our
livestock guardian.
guardian dog.
I have a Great Pyrenees in class.
He's like a group of different livestock guardian dogs.
Oh, okay. Well, the Great Pyrenees in our class is a very good nose work dog. He's big and he lumbers around, but he seems to feel like he can manage the environment. I don't notice any particular pattern, but he's very good. I think Archer is going to be very good at it too.
He's got the drool down pat. Isn't there
Yes.
something about like drool and scent?
Oh yes,
Kind of
we have a
noses.
Newfoundland. Yes, same. Get ready for the
Okay,
drool everywhere
got that
because
covered.
we're
Yes.
anticipating finding the hide and the food. So that's part of the fun.
Yeah. And then the shake,
Yes.
like the movie sound effect shake where it's not good. So is there any dogs that I know I think you touched on this a little bit, and apologies again if I'm not hearing everything, but are there dogs where it's kind of not great for, or is it really something that you can kind of manage for any dog?
Well, let me tell you about Dixie. So I didn't know then what I know now. So when Dixie started, so Dixie was profoundly fearful. She was basically feral when she came to us. As time went on, because my other dog was doing nose work, I thought it would be something that she would enjoy. And at the beginning, it's for dogs like her, it's fine because we start them in flat cardboard boxes, and we keep the search area pretty simple. But as time goes on and they get better at it, then we start to change the search area. So for some dogs, if change is hard, I think it's better to continue doing it yourself or doing it in something that's predictable versus something that's novel and changing all the time. So, but for Dixie, the thing that she taught me is she was afraid of some things like X pens and tight corners and things. And so she definitely knew the hide was there, whether it was food or the scent, but she wasn't willing to go all the way in. And not knowing, and I had instructors say we just didn't know, and we were luring her to get into those corners or get closer to the scary X pen to get the food. And over time, what I saw is that her fear in those situations started to get worse. the opposite of desensitization, it's sensitized. And she started to worry about the scent. So I took the scent out and we went back to food. But the setup of nose work, the classes, to her, this was scary. It just meant scary. And so I made the decision that nose work wasn't the thing that I would do with her, not than in classes. And she's brilliant outside and I hide treats for her all the time. But the actual setup, because I was putting her in situations that scared her, was not good for her. And so what I learned from that is I do not let any of the dogs that I'm teaching now, we don't let them feel afraid when they're searching. If we see them starting to be nervous about something, we just ask the person to call their dog away and we reset the hide so that they don't have to have a yucky feeling while they're searching. And I think that's really important, and I think it's played out well. So I thank Dixie for being a bit of a guinea pig and teaching me that lesson. But we want it to be fun for them and feel good every single time.
That's great. And you've already talked about how it is actually suitable for many reactive dogs because of the fact that it's just one dog in the search area at a time. So
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
yeah, good. So what kinds of scent are used for the dogs to search for? You said they start with food, and that sounds like it's the food that they love, and then progress to scent.
That's right. So at the beginning, we're building the love of the game and they're searching for hidden food. And food is important to most dogs, so they're really keen. They're learning independence to search without anybody saying, look here, look here, look here. They're learning to move away from their person, and they're learning to find it and then to continue to search again. So building that drive. And that search style. And so then once they're really good at it, and we've tried it in lots of different ways, we've built puzzles, they're easily able to move into tight spaces, do elevated hides, do it, in boxes, on plastic, or with objects. So we do all sorts of different scenarios. And once we feel the dogs are ready to go on to learning the odor, we start by putting the hide, which is a Q-tip, or a few Q-tips. So we use the National Association of Canine Scent Work decided on birch, anise, and clove. They could have selected anything. They're looking for novel scents that the dogs probably had no history with. Some of the other organizations use things like wintergreen, pine, cypress, but really it could have been anything. And when we are preparing the Q-tips, it's really about, a jar full of maybe 50 Q-tips and some drops of odor in the container, and we shake it. So it's not actually the oil on every single Q-tip, it's the scent of it. Other organizations put the drop of the oil on every single Q-tip. And amazingly, dogs can figure it out. They can understand different strengths of odor and they can work around that. So once we start adding the Q-tips into it, we put the food right there beside it. So the dog is searching, they track it down, they find where it is, they smell the odor, and they take the treat. And by doing that, we're building an association that finding odor is valuable and it's rewarding, and they get this instant reward. After we do some of that, we start to bring in the human, which is really, really exciting. The people are ready to help. And so we can start having the treat reward come from the human versus being right there beside the Q-tip or the container with the Q-tip. We don't actually leave Q-tips lying around. We keep them in the little, for example, slider, a little metal container that's maybe the size of your thumb, and we can hide that anywhere and the dogs can go off and search. Super fun.
So just so I'm getting this straight in my head, you start off with the dog searching for food around boxes and stuff, and then you start having the food next to a scent. Is that what happens?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. And then you start removing the food from the scent and the dogs just find the scent.
Exactly. Yes. And the human comes in to reward them. So the dog goes and finds the scent. And if we've done it well, they tend to sniff it. And then they start to look back for their person because, come on, you bring my treat. I found it. And that's what was fondly called the sexy look back, which says, I found it. That is our goal. That kind of, and some dogs will freeze. So, especially the terrier breeds, they often will freeze over odor, which is another nice way that humans can say they found it. some people might train a formal alert, maybe a sit or a bark or something, but in general, we just look for whatever the dog offers because they give us so much information. And generally, it's not just kind of random that they go, oh, here. There's the whole lead up. So as the dog is searching the room, they're stopping where odor has come from the Q-tips and is now landing on different surfaces. It's filling containers, it's trapping on tables, it's trapping under tables. They're finding all this information, and you can see them getting the crossword puzzle and getting all the pieces ready. And then as they come closer, they get right on it. And so it's not a surprise when they get there. So the humans, as they're watching, start to recognize, oh, my dog is an odor because now they're doing this, and they're narrowing it down, and they get there and they sniff it, and then they tend to do whatever it is, look for their reward. But it takes time to build that, but it's super exciting, and it's very fun when you see it.
Mm.
So
Very.
just as a side question, sorry if I
Sure.
can hop in real quick. You said that birch is one of the scents, right?
Yes.
The tree? Okay.
Yes.
So is there, because it would be novel, but I'm thinking like we have birch trees all around us and we cut birch and burn it in our wood stove. So there's like, our environment is going to be saturated with birch. Do you think that would actually affect, or would Archer say, if I ever did scent work with Archer, would he be able to sort of discriminate?
I think earlier on, if someone was asked that question, they'd say, "Oh, I don't think this is going to work." And people have asked the question, "Oh, for wintergreen, oh, it's often in gum, and if I chew gum and it's got wintergreen, will my dog be able to figure that out?" One of the things I think we've learned over time is that the dog's ability to figure out scent is brilliant. It's so far beyond anything that we can even imagine. And I remember at a conference asking Nathan Hall, who is a canine olfaction researcher, about that question of, the gum. People talk about, could my dog get mixed up because there's gum around? And he
Start
said,
start doing the like the
oh, yeah.
the alert at your face or something.
He said that the chemical difference between gum, well, it's possible. It's still possible, but it's very unlikely because the chemistry of them are so different. And so I suspect, and I don't know for sure, but I think there are lots of people living in areas with birch trees, and people are not reporting that their dogs are mixed up by that. I think that there are different forms of even the essential birch that we use. We use the sweet birch essence, I believe it is. That's off the top of my head. I mean, you test it out, Kristi. I'd love to hear what happens, but I suspect that Archer is so much beyond figuring out being mixed up by something like that, that I think it won't be a problem.
Archer looks so relaxed in the background. I think he's thinking, I got this.
He said, don't worry, my brain, I can solve that. Even
I wouldn't say he's not like a sled dog level of needing extra trials. I think he's quite right, but he also isn't particularly motivated. So it would be a fun. He isn't
you'll have
particularly
to
motivated
find,
by food compared
yeah,
with
you'll have to
other
find
dogs
that.
that I have worked with. Yeah.
I love one of my students whose dog was not highly motivated by food, and she came with this charcuterie board, steak, finest cheeses. She had, like, it was so amazing, and she'd give it to her dog, and not today. And then she'd give the cheese. Oh, actually, that's the one I want today. It was pretty cute.
I've just found with him, I just use like a handful. So who's like 40 pounds, I give her one treat, and then I just give Archer and Keithley, his sister, like 8. And I'm like, well, weight wise.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you mentioned that in the beginning you start with flat cardboard, but then you change the arena around so that it becomes kind of a bit different. What kinds of things do the dogs build up to? What are the changes that you make?
Oh, so in nose work, in canine nose work, there are 4 elements that we teach. So we want the dogs to be able to search interiors. So could have anything in there, tables, chairs, could be way up high on the wall. It could be under objects. It could be inaccessible. So there's lots of different challenges we can do inside. They also search outside, which creates all sorts of possibilities. You can go anywhere. And we also want to train in different conditions, different weather conditions, because that changes it, whether they're searching in the summer, searching in the winter, searching when it's raining. Odour loves to stick to moisture, so it changes the picture. Vehicles are a part of it. So as the professional dogs will search vehicles, so can our dogs. Excuse me. So that could be car, tractor, truck, anything basically with wheels, and it's super fun. We don't allow the dogs to go under the vehicles, so they learn to do the outside of the car, but they can gather information, of course, with their nose when they put their nose down under, but not body under. So vehicles are super fun. And then containers could be anything that contains the odor. And because people love to challenge their dogs, we can add in distractors. So, will the dog alert on the pizza crust that's in this box, or go to the one that actually has the target odor? And that's a really good challenge to train towards. And so the containers can be basically any different size box. It could be a glove. It could be anything that contains the odor. I love asking my students, do you think your dog could find the hide if it was in water? And so we set that up. And guess what? They can't. Do you think your dog could find it if it was buried in sand? We set it up and they can. And even if it snows, I'm super excited because I love putting hides in the snow and watching the dogs find them. It's amazing. They absolutely can. And I actually remember years ago when my teacher, Ann Gunderson, set up a hide at the shelter, and there were just happened to be bins of kitty litter, and it was clean kitty litter, and she had them all over and stacked up, and Lily climbed up on these containers to get to the top where there was a hide in kitty litter. I didn't think she could do that. I was not surprising. It's really fun. One time we did one where Anne set it up. We just happened to be a place where there was a lot of horse laundry, so horse gear and dirty stuff, and could the dog find the hide if it was buried in there? They could. They sorted through the horse smells and they found what they were looking for. It's amazing. Whenever I think, oh, I think that's kind of the limit to what they can do, then they prove to me wrong. There's always more that they can do. I think if there's one thing that really is fun to watch and really shows the brilliance of the dog's nose, it's when we do a very high hide, like suspended from the ceiling or very high up on the wall. And the dogs have to be experienced at that point, but to watch them go around the room, and it seems like it takes forever, and they keep going around gathering information, and it goes on and it goes on, and then just suddenly they go forward and they leap up to where the hide is high above their head. It's amazing. It's very exciting to watch.
So I know you've sort of mentioned this a couple times, but about your dogs, but what have you learned that sort of has surprised you about your dogs from watching them do scent work? Or what have your clients learned about, and your students learned that surprised them about their dogs?
I think, well, last week somebody said it works, which is brilliant. For me, I always come away saying, if I love my dog before, if I loved you, Hamish, before, I love you even more. I can't believe how brilliant you are when he figures out these really complex puzzles. So I'm always telling him I love him more. And when we go into a search, if it's blind, I say to him, you've got this, Hamish. Because the thing about scent work is it is dog driven. We do not have the noses. We do not know. For the dogs, every search is blind to them. They don't know where it is. And so just following the dog, and I think that's really different from many other dog sports, which are very human led. Scent work is dog led. It's very much tapping into that natural instinct that dogs have. And while there's, some training where they might say, look here, look here, look here. I really like to just let the dog lead because they do know what they're doing. And not to say that we don't have to, suggest you check this area, suggest you check that area, but in the end, it is the dog that is leading it. And I think that's what makes it so special. People get to see the true dog as they're doing the thing that they were born to do. And that's really fun.
I love that. And it sounds like you got hooked from your very first class and you've been teaching this for many years now. So, what would be your advice to someone who's listening to this and thinking, oh, I might like to give this a try?
Well, definitely just do it. You won't be disappointed. I think so. Some of my students have been with me for 8 years. It's a really long time, and the dogs are getting older. Um, I think nosework is more than just a class. I've taken other classes, but the thing that makes it special is it is a community. And because you're sitting with other people and watching their dogs, you build a bond with their dogs. So I feel like they're all mine. And so the community of people is very strong and supportive. And learning more about each of the dogs is really helpful to all of us. So I would say to people, please try it. If you I think, Sassy, I sent you something so people can look for nosework instructors. If you live in a place where there are none, maybe Kristi, there aren't any, there are some online nosework classes you can do. And then, really, our dogs are always living in a world of scent. They're always figuring out the picture. You can really do it yourself by just, maybe it's just as little as tossing your treats in, on a grassy surface and letting them sniff and find it super fun for them. Any opportunity to sniff is really helpful, and it builds happiness in your dog, and it gives us a chance to watch. Sometimes I think people have seen it, but they're not sure what that is, where they go for a walk with their dog and the dog suddenly changes direction. And we see this kind of back and forth movement and then they find where the source is and they press their nose hard and they gather all the information. And that's a really good example of what odor does. It starts from a source, and then depending on the wind conditions and the objects in the space, it will come off on tendrils or plumes. And the dog will catch one piece of that tendril of plume and they will work it back to find where source is. And you can see the joy they have in doing that and how important it is to gather that information. But that's the part, I mean, you can see that when you go for walks with your dog, you can set it up so you can watch it. But the dogs, besides the fact that they are incredibly gifted when it comes to scent, they also, both sides of their noses work separately. So they can tell where odor is stronger on this side or weaker on this side, and it's helping them to guide and figure out where these tendrils of odor are going and coming to. They really are like time travelers because they know what was there before, they know what's there now, and they can, because of the wind, they can tell what's coming towards them. So it's super amazing. It's far beyond anything humans can do. And I'm, excited and passionate about watching them because they keep teaching me something new every single day.
I think that the whole component of they know what happened in the past just from smelling is, I think the first time I heard that, I was just like, oh, mind blown. Like, it makes sense with how dogs, process and understand the chemicals in their environment. But yeah, it was just a cool thing to be like, we have a sense of that, I think, a little bit. Like if I could see a tracks or something, oh, there's fresh tracks in the snow. Like I know that it's snowing actively, there's fresh tracks in the snow. My dog was here recently. But as far as like the detail that they can get from scent, I think it's very, very cool.
It's really interesting. And once you see it and watch your dog, you can't unsee it and you start to notice things. For example, if a adolescent intact male dog happens to lift his leg in the training center, and we can put all the cleaning and we can put the enzymes on, we can do everything to make that scent go away. And there will be months later where a dog will go in and sniff that spot and go, ugh, and walk away. That's those teenage boys.
I had this funny thought of, because we have Soleil, who's little for us, like a 40-pound dog, and then Archer, who's like about 140-ish. And if I'm walking them together and if I threw treats down for them to sniff, Soleil would get every single one. She'd zoom in there so fast. And Archer would be like, what happened? What?
That reminds me of
the
a
questions
dog.
that I had was.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh,
you finish.
Oh, I was just going to say, it reminds me of a chow that was in class, and he was a very special boy. He had the gold medal as far as temperament, loved people, loved dogs, loved life, but physically a lot of orthopedic problems and many surgeries. So walking was hard for him, kind of like for Archer. It's a extensive behavior. I'm big, but for the Chow is because, you know, I've got issues with my joints. So Kodiak would come into the search area and he'd do nothing. And at the beginning, I was like, we got to get him moving, like, got to get him moving. Like, and he'd just be there and very still and not doing anything. And if you waited him out, he'd go chug, 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 and then he goes straight to the hide. And in his ability to conserve energy, he must have in his mind created the entire scent picture of the room. And he would just go chug, chug, chug. And it was so amazing to watch. So I wouldn't be surprised if Archer will search in that style to conserve energy.
That would be very cute. So I did have a question. Our last question is about scent work classes, like fun nose work type stuff, compared to the work that professional teams do. Is it really different? Can you move between them, or is it all sort of built on the same principles? What's going on there?
So training for the professional dogs is similar, but it's different. And the one big difference is that the professional dogs have a trained formal alert, and in some places they would, you know, the handler would have to go to speak before a judge to say, my dog did exactly this, and that is the response that tells us, you know, that there were drugs there. Our dogs don't have to do that. You know, nobody's going to die. Nothing's going to happen if they miss a hide. So the professional dogs have a trained alert, so they teach it differently to get that. But there are many things that are similar. The other difference, of course, is that professional dogs are often purpose bred. They are very high drive. They're, you know, brilliant and maybe harder to live with. Our pet dogs, you know, they lie on the couch. Archer is a perfect example. You know, he's not go, go, go all day long. And they're our pet dogs. They live with us. They know us so well. It's very different. So, uh, so it is very separate. There are lots of, you know, similarities, but I think starting with the basic dog. I did have one dog who, a very talented German short-haired pointer, came to nose work classes. He was brilliant. His dad happened to be a firefighter. He did take his dog on, who was trained and certified in fire detection. So he became a professional dog, but those times are rare. So yeah, so it's similar, but not exact, you know, different dogs, different purpose.
Great. Archer would like to suggest that he is also a working dog. He chases ravens away
Yes, I can tell he is hard to live
from our
with.
young hens with great, like, he doesn't look like he would move very fast, but holy cow, when he's like ready to chase a raven off, I actually get a little bit scared because I'm like, that is a very fast, powerful dog, and he keeps it hidden away until he just explodes with this energy and speed, and you're like, oh wow, okay, you are athletic.
Well, you might be careful then when you start nose work, because one of the things that happens is the dogs are super excited to search, and they run into the search area. We call it a manners-free zone when we're doing nose work. We really want them to be excited and have that drive. So unless there's, you know, we're afraid that somebody's going to get hurt, we'll let them do that. And once they're in, you know, paws can go up on counters and things. We want them to chase odor. So it's kind of a manners-free zone. But for those really excited dogs, they can get really drivey to come into the search area. So sometimes we do have to actually ask them to sit before they start. So I would watch out for Archer.
Archer's like, I don't need to jump up onto the counter. My head is on the counter as I stand.
I want to tell you about another dog that was really fascinating to me. So this is Rain. He's a mixed breed dog. He's very good at nose work. He did it for a long time, but he was a dog living with diabetes. And so as his diabetes was ebbing and flowing, sometimes he couldn't have treats. And his dog mom asked, could we do it for clapping and petting? He loves people. I wonder if he'll search for that. I wasn't sure that it would work, or I thought might work for a while, but it wouldn't carry on. He proved me wrong. He would do complex searches. When he was done, all the students would clap. He'd come running over, get some pets from somebody, and then he would carry on and continue to search. And that suggests to me that there's more than just the food reward that we're giving the dog, that the actual act of searching with their noses actually is super rewarding for them. So he went on to do that, for quite a bit of time, and showed me, how much fun it is to do nose work. So find what motivates your dog. Whether he would have been able to do that if he hadn't had that strong foundation, I'm not sure, but it was really fun to see him search, and hard, complex searches, long searches, and still do it for just the clapping, which is very cool.
I think that really speaks to how much dogs can enjoy doing the scent work. And I'm sure you know of the study that found that when dogs do nose work, a 6-week nose work class, then they're more optimistic as a result of doing it. So that also speaks to just how much fun this is for dogs. So I think that's really cool. Yeah. And you mentioned some links before, so thank you very much. You've sent me some links, and for our listeners, I'm going to put those in the show notes. So if you want to learn more about scent work, or if you want to find a class near you, you'll be able to look at those links and find something there. So I feel like we could keep on talking about nose work all day, but sadly we don't have the time. So we have to move on to the book section. Bonnie, what have you been reading recently that you have absolutely loved?
Let's see if I can hold this up. Where am I? There we go. So it's called Finding Flora. It's by Eleanor Florence. It's historical fiction. It takes place in the early 1900s, and it's in Canada, as Canada was encouraging Europeans to come over to be homesteaders and take plots of land. It's a story of a woman who came to Canada with her abusive husband and decided to escape and jump off the train and try to make a life for herself. In Canada, which is different from the United States, single women were not allowed to be homesteaders. And so she found a little loophole where a nurse actually offered her the chance to buy this plot of land. And so the story is about her survival, her community of other women who are trying to survive the isolation. It takes place around Edmonton, Alberta, which is the prairies, very flat, very cold in the winter. Kristi could speak to how hard that is. The rules around having title meant that they had to produce, I think it was 2 or 3 years, had to show that it was productive as far as crops and livestock. And the biases against women, the cultural norms, the railway coming in, there was lots of adversity. And then, of course, the worry that her husband would find her. So it's very exciting. The author has a lovely writing style. I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it.
Thank you. That sounds like a really great read. Thank you. And so if people want to learn more about you, where do they go?
So our website is oceanparkdogtraining.com, and we're on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is Ocean Park Dog without the word training. Facebook is the whole name. Love to hear from people. I'd love to hear your experiences with nose work or scent work that you do. Super fun for dogs.
And I love following your social media because there are so many little videos of cute dogs having really wonderful times. So it's definitely worth checking out. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us about scent work, Bonnie. It's been absolutely fascinating.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I think it should definitely encourage people to give it a try. Before we finish, I have an announcement to make, which is just to let our listeners know that Kristi and I are planning a special holiday episode, and we have gone back through our previous episodes, and we have picked out some of the speakers who are your favorites, and we've asked them if they will come back and take part in a special holiday show. So I just wanted to let you know to look out for that in a few weeks' time as the holidays approach, because we're quite excited about it. Or I am anyway. So thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, please tell a friend about it so that they can also learn about scent work. And if you do go and try it with your dog, please let us know. We would love to hear about it. And thanks again, Bonnie. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.